to. Hey, Mike. And I missed somebody else. Oh, hi, Barbara. All right, so we're going to start the lesson. I'm going to start trying to remember to do this so that it's easier for me to edit out all of the junk at the beginning of the waiting for people to log on. We have a nice group today. It looks like we got quite a few of you in already, and we'll have a few more in as we get to some of the advanced players are like, oh, I'm too smart for the early part of the class. So we let them, honestly, we let them stay home for a while. We're going to be talking about playing the C scale today. And for lots of you, if you have some background in music, this is old hat. This is stuff that everybody has to learn on instruments. But you don't really have to learn it on ukulele. I think it's important for us to teach it to you and for me to give you a basic concept of what we're working on. But honest to goodness, guys, this is not critical information. What is critical information is getting comfortable with moving your hands independently, your fingers independently over on this hand, and then to be mindful about how you're going to approach things with this hand. And so the fact that we're using the C scale, yeah, it's what every musician ever put on this planet has had to struggle with. But in terms of the necessity and the urgency of learning some of this stuff, it's just not there for ukulele. If you're taking piano, yeah, this is pretty high level stuff. If you're taking any band instrument like saxophone or whatever, you have to know this stuff. And but for fretted instrument players, this stuff is informational. It is helpful. If you decide to become a classical guitarist, you'll have to learn this stuff. But really, for folk musicians and for ukulele players and for the vast majority of guitar playing, and including rock guitar and all of this stuff, you don't really have to know this stuff. But I think it's fascinating, and for some of you, it'll put you on a path both to teaching and to being a better player. And so that's why I do it. Brief comment about this ukulele. It's an Ohana, and it's a lovely instrument. The reason I wanted to talk to you about it is that right here is a button. If you do not have a button on your ukulele, you want to get a button on your ukulele. And there are other strap systems out there that you can use. This is the correct one. I get lots of emails from people saying, what about this strap? What about this strap? What about this one? Just put a button on here. It's okay. You can take a $10,000 ukulele and put a button on it, and it's fine. Okay. If you have a Martin C5 from the 20s, then probably not. But other than that, it's K5. That's the one you want. The K5 is the Cole one they made in the 20s. Don't put a button on that one. Otherwise, you're going to need a button here. The ukulele strap that you need, go to Amazon. They're all the same. There's 5,000 types of them. Find a color that you like, and that's how it goes on to this side. And then on the other side, some ukulele players will put a button here, and the reason they do that is because guitar players put a button here. That's not really where you want that button, because it's going to just be strangling your neck. What you want to do is take a shoestring and tie the other end on just with a plain old regular knot. Okay, that's what you want to do here. And some players will run it up here because they don't like they don't like the fact that their thumb runs up against this string here, and so they'll put it up here. But this is really what you want to do. This makes the most sense. So when you buy it, make sure you don't buy the one with the clip on here that hooks on the hole. That doesn't work. It'll show it right in the picture on Amazon, those little things. And you want to get one with two of these, one on each end. Right. And then all you have to do, you need to drill a little pilot hole here and then put it on. If you live in Denver, you can come by my shop. I do it for you. If you don't live in Denver, you can do it, right? Measure the distance between here. Make sure it's right in the middle of your ukulele, lined up, half and half this way. Sometimes there's a stripe there, and that helps. Drill a little pilot hole in there and then screw it on. That's all you do, okay? And it is worth doing that because when you are playing at what we're working on at instrumental ukulele, you're going to be doing stuff with this hand. I've already got all over your business about not grabbing on your ukulele like this. So you're really not holding the ukulele. And so you are in a situation where you need to put a strap on, because otherwise the ukulele is going to be flying all over the place, and it's harder to play it that way. What I do feel like, and I will tell you, the other day when we were in orchestra practice, this is getting to be months ago now because we've been on lockdown for a while, but I looked around the group, and everybody except one person had a strap. Every single person in the orchestra had a strap, and I don't require it. They can do it or not. And every last one of them had it on, except for one of the teenage girls right down in front. It's just because she's a goof and she hadn't got it on yet. So it is something you want to do. And again, if you order it from Amazon, a lot of times the straps will come with the button in there, and then you can just use that button. This one happens to be gold because I have gold hardware on here, so I went with the fancy one. And I'm sure it's 14 karat gold. And, just get yourself set up where playing is easier. When you put it on, the other thing I've seen, sometimes people don't do this, right? Sometimes they play it like this. That's not what you want to do. Put your arm through it, play it like this. Now, look, it's hold on, not going anywhere. Hey, look at me. And you can actually play properly with both hands without your ukulele flying all over the place. So give that some thought. I think it is... they drive me crazy, so you'll see I'm not wearing it, but that's because I'm too busy fussing with everything else to worry about to deal with the strap and this thing tight around me trying to bring me down. But I do think that you can really make your life better as a player by putting a strap on it. All right, let's see. Who else is checking in here today? Spirzo? Oh, I don't even know what this. Did I ever say hi to you? Mike Shue is here. Osborne's, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Susan, if I didn't say hi already, to Bozeman, Montana, right? We're coming in. Vicky's up in Bozeman, which is wonderful. All right, here we go. Let's talk C scale. The first thing, if you're new to music, a lot of this it's a vocabulary lesson that gets to be kind of a bummer pretty quickly. I'm going to tell you what's important here and what's not important. If you've been coming in from one of the other instruments, particularly piano, this stuff is just going to be more of the same. Okay, so I've got my little chart here, right? Hopefully yours is there. The first thing is, for most of you, your high G ukuleles, middle C is the lowest note on your ukulele. That's your third string open, okay? Now, I went ahead and wrote them in, but this is information you really do need to know. The next note is D. If you were just looking at the white keys, you got a D, an E, an F, a G, an A, a B, and a C. And notice that the letters go up to G, and then they start over, A, B, C, and then they'll just keep going up. But they go from A is the lowest named note, and G is the highest named note, and then they just start over and keep going. You'll notice on a piano that there's groups of 3 black notes and then groups of 2 black notes. That will become important to you as you become more advanced. In the beginning, you just need to know that there are black notes and white notes, and that they're in a particular arrangement. The next thing I think is important for you to notice, on this piece of paper, I gave you G, A, and B. If you have a low G ukulele, you have those notes. If you have a high G ukulele, your notes start here, okay? And then they go up from there, and they go on beyond this. I wrote extra notes here because they just fit on the line, but your ukulele will go up quite a bit higher. If you are a high G ukulele player, your lowest note is a C, and your highest note at fret 12 is going to be an A. It's possible you might have a few more notes beyond there to get all the way up to C, so you might theoretically have 2 octaves on your ukulele, but we generally don't play all the way up there. If you have a low G ukulele, you absolutely have 2 octaves on your ukulele. You're going to start at that low G, and you're going to go up 2 notes beyond this to your high G. So you can actually do 2 octave scales on a low G ukulele. That's why some people who have a little bit more experience, like those low G ukuleles, is they get just a few extra notes, and they can then have 2 full octaves in the key of G. And that can sometimes be helpful when you're arranging your ukulele arrangements when you're trying to put your music together. The problem with low G, guys, is that it takes the ukulele-ness out of this. It turns it into a little miniature, I don't want to say guitar, but it turns it into a little miniature guitar, and that's okay. It's delightful even still, but having this high G up here, it creates a sense of happiness that the other instruments don't. And so just be mindful. If you're trying to decide high G, low G, what is it, what's my bag, you really want to own both. You really do. I have both, and I always play high G, but my low G, when I'm going to do something really important, I do that. So that's how music is set up on your piano. That's how it's set up on your ukulele. We're now going to work on that tablature that's right there at the top. We're going to start where the C note is. Okay, so the first note we're going to say is middle C, and that's where we're going to start. So I want you to put your third string open is where we're going to be starting. Okay, all right. Now, the other thing that I think is super important as a player, your ukulele's up against your back. This is at a 60-degree angle to the ground. It is not over here. It's up here. And your thumb, I don't see your thumb. Your thumb's right along, right behind the neck. It's going to be hanging out right behind your middle finger. Okay? And that's where you're going to want to have that. That's how you're going to, this is a rule, actually. I don't want to ever see this. If you're doing this, you're making your life so much harder and you don't even notice. So this guy goes down here, middle finger is going to hang out right behind wherever your middle finger is. For this exercise, we're going to do index finger in 1, middle finger in 2, ring finger in 3. You're not going to need any other fingers, okay? This pinky's going to hang out here above 4, but he's not going to do anything. He's just being a pinky, right? And so that's what he's doing. Okay, we're going to start on the third string open, and then middle finger, 2nd fret, same string. Let's do that again. 0, 2, open, 2, open, middle finger, open, middle finger, C, D, C, D, C, D. Beautiful. Now we're going to move down to the 2nd string, this one, okay? And notice I'm using my thumb where the body and neck come together. I think it sounds prettiest there. And you'll see all ukulele players, for the most part, playing right about here, okay? Except when you're doing something special to you, like if you're arpeggio picking, or if you're wanting to make some cool, some different types of sounds, you might play way down here. But for the most part, we're going to play right here. Next phrase is 0 on the 2nd string, 1 on the 2nd string, 3 on the 2nd string. Open, 1, 3. Open, 1, 3. Open, index, ring. Open, index, ring. One more time. Open, index, ring. Okay, so you're playing E, F, G. Right, let's put those two thoughts together. We're going to play the C and D, and then the E, F, and G. Okay, 1, 2, ready, play. C, D, E, F, G. Again. Open, 2, open, 1, 3. One more time. Open, middle, open, index, ring. Okay, almost done. Last part of the song is we're going to play the first string open, and then we're going to play it with the middle finger on 2 and ring finger on 3. Okay, play just that string for me. Ready, go. Open, middle, ring, open, 2, 3, A, B, C. Okay, with this particular pattern that we're learning here, we're starting on the low C, and we're going to end on the high C. Okay, let's go from the very bottom to the very top. We're going to put it all together now, nice and slow. Ready, play. Open, middle, open, 1, 3, A, B, C. Let's do it again from the very bottom. Open, 2, open. open, E, F, G, A, B, C. Beautiful. Next level players, you might be working on, instead of just using your thumb on everything, be using index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, index, middle. Okay, just alternating these two finger patterns to get where you have some independent control of your right hand fingers. Okay, you can also use all three fingers if you want to be working on that. Generally, I am, index, middle, is probably what most upper next level players are working on. Okay, and if you're a teacher, obviously getting the C scale from bottom to top is the hard part. Once they get that, then you can start messing around with their right hand fingering to see if they want to work on that stuff. All right, now we're going to go all the way to the top. We're going to turn around and come right back down. We're going to play it from the top and then to the bottom. When you get to the C string on top, or the C note on top, don't play it twice. We're going to turn right around and go back down. Okay, so let's start by going top to bottom just to get you some practice. Okay, start with your ring on the top, C, then your middle, B, open, A, ring, 3, index, open, middle, open. Okay, so we're going to put those two ideas together from the bottom up here and then immediately turn around and come back down. Really slow, ready, play. Open, middle, open, index, ring, open, middle, ring, middle, open, ring, index, open, middle, open. Let your ukulele keep ringing. I mean, we want to get as much sustain out of this as we can. This happens to be a little bit nicer ukulele. It rings a little bit longer than some of the less expensive ones. So take advantage of it. That's what you're paying for when you buy a solid top ukulele that's, high quality build. It's going to have a little bit more sustain, and that's what you want. All right. Now, next thing we want to be working on is speed. Okay. And when we talk about speed, we're turning our brains off. Okay. And we just want to get this fingering to be automatic. So let's try it one more time with a little bit faster speed. And at home, if that speed goes too fast, then you're playing it too fast. Okay. If you can't do it at that speed, then you go back and you play it at slow speed. Whatever slow speed you need to play at that speed until you really get it down, and then start inching it up. For those of you guys who've been around a while, this is probably going to go pretty well. Hi, Kari. 1, 2, ready, play. Open, middle, open, index, ring, open, middle, ring, middle, open, ring, index, open, middle, open. Whew, right? So if you're playing at that speed, that's pretty fast, actually. That's pretty solid. And if that's blowing you out, don't worry about it. You just got to go back and get slower until you get that basic pacing down, and then you can do that over and over. Hi, Lanny. All right. So now we've got the C scale in place. What do we use the C scale for? Truthfully, very little in ukulele. We really don't use it that much. It just doesn't come in that handy. But knowing where those notes are will become very handy, and that's what's down at the bottom of the paper. What you'll see is all of the notes listed out on the ukulele where they are. Now, a couple of thoughts on this. If you're new to ukulele, that doesn't matter. It's not going to matter. You don't need to name the notes. If you've had piano or any other instruments or any of these other band instruments type things, you're desperate to name notes and you're desperate to memorize where the notes are on the fretboard. Understand that comes from your previous experience in music, and you think that that's going to be vital on this instrument. It might help you some, but I don't think it's going to be the difference between playing great and playing mediocre. I think knowing generally how music works and where your flats and sharps are and that sort of stuff, it's sort of helpful. But here again, we use tablature in ukulele for the most part, and it's definitely speed stuff along. Now, the reason they don't use tablature in academic guitar is they want you to be reading the standard notation. But if you look at academic guitar standard notation, almost always they've gone in written in all of the fingerings and frettings and which strings and all this. So all tucked all around their standard notation is tablature. Okay, it's just a better system for fretted instruments. Tablature is missing certain elements that are really crucial to learning to play a song. It doesn't tell you how long to hold a note. It's its biggest weakness. And so understand, from the music I give to you, we'll always have both some standard notation and some tablature. But as a ukulele player, tablature is definitely the way you're probably going to spend most of your time. And so that chart down there at the bottom is really meant for people who just have to know. They just have to know where their notes are, and that can be a week-long process memorizing all that. I will tell you that after many years of playing this instrument, I know A, B, C, D, E, F. I think that's G, right? I get a little iffy as the last two. Don't use those enough. G, and there's an A here, right? On the second string, I know this is E, F, G, and I know for sure that's an A because it comes up a lot. But after that, I'd have to sit down and figure it out. This string, I know C, D, and E, and I happen to remember that's an F only because it's always next to the E. I would have to figure out what all these other notes are, and I don't use this string almost ever. So again, I'd have to sit down and think about it. C, G, A, and I'm always surprised that that's a B. In my head, I'm just like, that's got to be a B flat, but this is your B flat right there, right? So again, I've been playing pretty long, and I don't necessarily have the whole thing just dead on cold in my head because I don't need to, and you won't need to either. It's just not how we play this instrument. Okay. That's the C scale. It's something to work on as a warm-up, I think. When you sit down and you're like, all right, I got to warm up. The first thing I like you to do, one, do your hand exercises. Pinky out, ring out, index out, thumb out, and then do them with your thumb out. Done, done, done. Right. That just get your tendons warmed up a little bit. Lets them know they're going to be doing some weird stuff. Squeeze your hand into a fist and then flip it out and get this going. Don't ever hyperextend anything. Don't push against anything. That can cause injury. So just tighten your fist and then let it out. Just get some blood flowing. That's step one. Step two, probably play that C scale. Just get your hands going. Oh, okay, we're going to play ukulele. And then, of course, if you haven't already downloaded it, I have an arpeggio book on the JollyRogerUkulele.com site. You should have that book downloaded and play one of the arpeggios out of that. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to start adding in a couple of others of those. There's 30 in the book, and really the first, I'd say, under the suggested learning sequence, the first 10 are in keys that you might actually play in. The other 20 keys are for those people who are a little like this, right? And you probably are never going to play in those keys. All right. That's the C scale. It is important. It's important for you just in the sense that you are going to use that as a help for your fingering and to get you started thinking that those notes mean something, but it's not a help in terms of playing real music. Interestingly, I'm doing some work on piano lately, and the fingering in here, the thing that I never worked on much as a piano player was scales because I was an older learner and we mostly just played songs. And so I never spent much time learning my scales on piano. So that's what I'm going back and I'm teaching myself how to play the scales properly. And so right now my head is all around, here's the proper fingering for the C, the scale, the C scale, the key of C. And the piece I'm working on is a Bach piece written in the key of C. And the fingering written in the book plays no role at all. It's absolutely contrary to some of the stuff in the key of C scale. And so I'm looking up like, why didn't you just use key of C fingering? And I mean, the answer is simple, that there is scale fingering, which we just learned on C, and then there's music fingering, and those may or may not be related. I'm probably causing a couple of serious piano teachers and piano students out there to lose their minds at the moment, but those two things are not necessarily related. So when you're playing real music, yeah, you might use your proper fingering from the scale, but you also might not. And so I think all of that stuff is important to just be aware of as a musician. Is when you get ready to play real music, you're going to have to turn your noggin on and really think about what's going to be the most efficient fingering for each particular measure, for every single note. What we're after when we're playing real music is to get the beauty out of that, and sometimes that involves picking some rather strange fingerings. Okay. If you are new to ukulele and you're new to this program, please make sure to go back the previous couple lessons. Make sure that Frere Jacques is making some sense. Make sure that playing those individual notes on the tablature is making sense to you, because starting tomorrow, we dig into the good stuff. We're going to go into the tough uke line. We're going to get you guys playing chord melody at a much higher level than 90% of ukulele players ever get to. And so making sure that you're feeling comfortable with all of that is really, really important to me. And so starting tomorrow, we dig into Spaghetti Monster, and it's going to blow your mind how cool your ukulele sounds without you actually doing any singing. All right, let's see. Diane, hi, good. Glad you made it today. Bob, welcome. Everybody, including Gary. Let's talk about the Minuet in C. Let's get started. Our Minuet in G is actually what it is. Grab your sheet music for the other song. Now, couple of notes here that are important. We have a part 1, and right now you have a part 2. Okay, we're going to be working on part 2 today. Yesterday we worked on part 1. Okay, now. The important thing, if you did not re-download this today, the part 1, I changed it. And here's why I changed it. Mike, who's one of the people over here in your chat box, Mike Shue is one of a really fine musician here in Denver. He's a organist, and well, frankly, I think he plays just about anything. I think he's probably, I know he's a quality pianist as well. Just really fine musician. He was playing through this, and you remember yesterday we were talking about doing a G chord up on 10. That one. We were talking about that. And he sent me an email and says, Gary, I think it's probably easier to do a C chord on 7. And he's absolutely right. And why I didn't think about that when I was arranging that was like, come on, Gary, get it together. The other nice thing about that is that the note that follows this is a 3 here, but it's also a 7 here. Or it was a 3 on this string, right? And then a 7 on this string. Well, if you use a 7, your bar on 7 and a pinky on 10, you're already holding down the next note, okay? And so measures 4 and measure 12, I went ahead and changed that to Mike's suggested fingering. I think it works way better. I think that Mike gets a gold star for today. He can have this lesson for free. I won't charge him a thing for it. And I think it'll make it a little easier for you to play. So if you downloaded it prior to that change, go into and re-download it and reprint it. I think it will be much easier to play. And again, the way you'll know is at measure 4 and measure 12, it says 7, 7, 7, 10 is the chord, and then the 2 notes after that are both 7s, and that should make things a tiny bit easier. That's a pretty challenging song, and those of you guys who worked on it yesterday, hopefully you figured out, this is work, and that's what we want in ukulele, right? Most of the time when you go to ukulele things, there's this half a dozen Beatles songs and then a couple of other cowboy type songs, and it's all the same chords, and it's a lot of fun. You have a great time, get to sing a little bit, but we don't ever make you suffer, and that's kind of what Tough Uke is really all about, is making music for ukulele at that next level where you're having to actually stretch a little bit, and that's what we want to do. Hi, Patty. All right, let's dig into part 2, and for those of you who are newer to this type of play, make sure that you are getting comfortable with the fact that there's this is really terrible lighting. You've got chords up here, but you're probably not going to play those, okay? The next one underneath that, your melody line, that is 1 note at a time. We're going to play it beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then our real goal is to combine this chord and this melody line into this, okay? And that's your Tough Uke section. Okay, so what we're going to be working on first, we're going to ignore the chords completely. And in classical music, classical guitar especially, we just throw the chords out because they're of minor help when it comes to that level of playing. And in this level of playing too, we're going to throw the chord out. Here's why you would use the chord. if you're playing a duet with a friend, right, you're going to play the melody line 2 3 0 2 3 0, and I didn't sing that even close to right. Um, and your friend is going to strum 3 G chords, right? That's why you have to have a friend. You guys are ukulele players. The chances of you having a friend are pretty small, but you might find one, and that person will be open to ukulele. And the thought that you're thinking with them is, hey, I'm learning how to read tablature. I want to work on that. You're learning how to read chords. I want you to work on that. Let's do 3 beats of G while I pick out 2 3 0 2 3. And pretty soon you've got this gorgeous duet, and people will want to know what you're up to, and you will pretty soon attract this group following of people. What I know about ukulele players is they are generally 55 and older, and they are lovely, and they will work hard, and they will make things go great for you. If they are younger than that, count yourself lucky. Last night we were playing with one of the groups that I play with here in town, and we got a young man who just purchased his first house, and he took us on a video tour of his house. And so there are young people playing this instrument, and we want to encourage them. We want to find, because we need somebody to take over the mantle of this, so find those guys, and pretty soon you've got something really going on. That's awesome. Now let's run through just the melody line. Let's get comfy with playing one note at a time, and then we're going to go back through and we're going to play the tough U part. Let me see. I can see a bunch of stuff going on over here in the chat. Bob, so after the 7 7 10, are we still playing 3 3? Bob, you can play 3 3 if that works for you. You can also play 2 7s on the third string, which I think is probably easier. Either one of those is acceptable. Let's see. I think 7 on the third string, Bob. Yeah. So Kari is right. That's what I'm recommending. And Jerry, I even let my guitar player do the chords. Oh, good point, Jerry. Let's pretend that you know a guitar player. Now, here's what we know about guitar players. Don't tell anybody I said this. They kind of know everything. They're just the most brilliant things that God ever let loose on this earth. And so you want to, you very gently, you put them down, give them the good chair, right? Rub their backs. You can't do this unless they're in the family right now. But once they let us out of quarantine, rub them on the back and say, "You are awesome." Okay, and then just have them play G chord, D chord, G chord, A chord. Even guitar players know those chords, and so what they will do is they're just going to strum 3 beautiful. And guitar players love to strum, right? So they're going to get a pick out, be real super loud, and all this. And then you're going to play the melody, which they'll be like, "Oh, I don't know how to read tablature." They've been playing guitar for 35 years and they've never taken time to learn how to read tablature, which takes about 10, 15 minutes to learn. They just don't do it, right? That's just not their thing. So they play the chords, you play the melody. Everybody has a great time. You have a glass of wine or mug of ale, and then you can play some pretty sweet stuff. So do that. Just know the problem with guitar players is once they start talking, they're not going to stop talking. So just be aware of that. All right. I teach a guitar lesson right after this, so you can come join me for that. We'll talk bad about ukulele players over there. It'll be fine. It'll all even out in the end. Let's play the melody. You've got some 2s. Remember, middle finger. You've got some 3s, going to be your ring finger. Got some 4s that are going to show up right there. And then when we get down to measures 5, 6, and 7, all hell's going to break loose. We are really going to have to be thoughtful about how best to move our position on that. 9 and 10 are not as bad. You do have a 5 in there. That's not terrible. You have a 7 in there followed by a 3, so we'll probably go into second position to cover something like that. And really, that's it. So just having looked through it and knowing you guys are more advanced players now, let's take a look at, all right, how am I going to solve this problem coming up in measures 5 and 6? So at measure 5, let's just go there. Let's play this. The first note is a 0. That's fine. I'm going to play a 2. Now, we know we're going way up, so I'm probably going to grab that with my index finger. 2. I've got a 4. I got a 5. So I've been able to play all of those notes without moving my position. And then I got 7, 9, and 10. So I'm probably going to just go ahead and go all the way up to 7th position. 7, 9, 10, 9, 7, 9, 0, 4, 5. And I'm probably going to grab that 4 with my pinky and then slide up to 5, but I might grab that with my ring finger and go to 5. Okay, so I think that starting in second position and then holding on until 7. When you go up to the 7th, go ahead and go all the way up to the 7th position. I think that's going to work out the smoothest and be the least likely fraught with potential disaster. And that's kind of when we're thinking through fingering, that's really what we're working on, is how can I do this without and minimize the chance of me blowing it. Okay, let's just try it that way. From measure 5, 1 and 2 and 3 and 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 9, 7, 9, 0, 4, 5. I think that's probably makes the most sense. Use that ring finger on that particular 4 so that you can get to 5, because then you got a dotted half note there, so you got plenty of time to go ahead and get back into the first position. When I think we're probably going to play the rest of the song in first position. Got that 7 sitting there at measure 10 is going to cause us some fuss. I don't love the idea of reaching my pinky up to 7, but I've only got to do it once, and I can probably look down long enough to find my 7 and still get back to my sheet music in time. That's one of the harder things as a newer player. That's one of the harder things as an experienced player is you got the hard part coming up on a piece of sheet music. You really got to look down at your ukulele to make sure your fingers are ending up in the right place. And that's why I talk all of the time about memorizing music. You don't need to memorize. You only need to memorize, truthfully, only one song, and it better be a good song, right? Something that you can just make people cry with. And then everything else, you're going to be memorizing individual measures and certain sections of songs. But for the most part, you don't. I just don't. I don't see a reason to memorize the whole thing unless this is going to become your signature piece, and then memorize the heck out of this. But you will probably need to memorize certain measures. You're like, okay, that's that measure where I have to that 7, right? I got to look down, and then the next note's going to be a 3, 2, 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and memorize that one measure, so I can go down, double check everything's going cool, and then my eyes will track magically into the next measure. And again, for those of you who are newer, and I don't know if I talked about this anytime recently, I end up repeating myself over and over. So sometimes I hope that I don't. I'll bore you. Whatever. Memorizing songs. You do need to memorize one song, and at this point, it needs to be. It'll be the song I present tomorrow, "My Spaghetti Monster." If you're brand new, that's the song you're going to memorize. That's going to be your first memorized song. After that, you really need to only memorize one other song, because if somebody finds out you're a ukulele player, they're going to ask you, they're going to say, hey, play me something. And you don't want to have to go chase your sheet music down. You want to just be able to play something for them. You want it to be a song that you like. By the time you have it memorized, you are going to hate it, but you will come to accept the fact that that is your song. The reason I say you only have to know one is that once you have proven that you can play ukulele to whoever asks you to play me something, they will never ask you to play anything ever again. They will just know you're the ukulele star. I have been playing at a reasonably high level for many, many years. And when somebody finds out I'm a ukulele player, hey, play me something. And I play them Moon River, and I have never had to play them any other song other than that. I do have, I have a half a dozen, probably 10 or 12 songs at this point memorized that I could present to them. But they don't want that. They don't ask for that, because with ukulele, once they find out you know what you're doing, they don't want to listen to you anymore. They want to play, and they want you to give them your ukulele and start teaching them. That's why those of you guys that are experienced players, I really want you to take all this material that I'm handing out in these classes and start to get really good and comfortable with them, because you should be teaching it to the next person. If you're in Bozeman, Montana, you are officially allocated to ukulele melody and instrumental playing in Bozeman, Montana, and or Arizona. Bruce, you're in charge down there, and the idea is, hey, I don't have to be a great player. I just have to know how to play the next song in order. I don't have to be able to kill Minuet. This is a hard piece. What I do need to do is I need to be able to kill Frere Jacques, and then I need to teach that to somebody, right? And then tell them they need to teach it to somebody else. We got to get everybody playing this instrument, because I haven't really had any problems being locked down because I got this, right? And so a lot of people are starting to struggle, and you've got something that's good for you. Okay, let's play. Get your middle finger on 2. New Brunswick, Texas. We need an expert, a ukulele expert in New Brunswick, Texas, more than ever. From the top, we're going to start with your middle finger. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, oh, 2, 3, oh. 2, oh, 2, 2, 3. Oh, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 4, oh. Oh, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 9, 7, 9, oh, 4, 5, 5, 3, 2, 3, 7, 3, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, oh, 3, 2, 3, oh, 2, oh, 2, 3, oh, 2, 3, 2, oh, 2, 5, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, and then repeat. Okay, so how do we do? You guys sounded amazing from here. How'd you guys feel you did at home? I lead a group at our senior center. I'm easing them into playing melody lines and chord melody. Yay, Vicky, you're making it happen up there. Frere Jacques, tell you want to die. You know, I promise, once they get reading tablature, they're going to want more. They're going to want more. Okay. All right. How do we do on Minuet? It sounds, for the most part, the melody fits under your fingers pretty well. Hopefully you were keeping up with me. If you weren't, you know that, hey man, that's a growth area for me. He's playing a little too fast for me. I'm going to slow it down. Don't ever think you have to play it up to any particular speed. It's getting started. Okay. Hey, Leslie. All right. Let's play it one more time. We've just played down through measure 16, and that repeat says, "Hey, go back up to number 1 and replay the whole thing." When you get at the bottom of 15, don't play 16 again. We're going to play right into the ending. Notice at the ending, measure 17, I'm going to want to have a G chord put on. So double check you're okay with your G chord. Index, middle, ring. That's how you're going to end this piece. Okay, from the top, middle, 1, 2, ready, play. I gave you a 4-beat counting. Let's start again. I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3. Oh, I hate waltzes. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, oh, 2, 3, oh. 2, oh, 2, 2, 3. Oh, 2, 3, 2, 1. 2, 4, oh, oh, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 9, 7, 9, oh, 4, 5, let it ring, go. 5, 3, 2, 3, 7, 3, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, oh, 3, 2, 3, oh, 2, oh, 2, 3, oh, 2, 3, 2, oh, 2, 5, 3, 2, drum. Pretty nice. Okay. How are we feeling? Making it sense? No, that's not normal for a while. It's so funny. I figure out the fingering and then I totally space it out when I get there. Has anybody else ever figured out their fingering, had it dead on perfect, and then did it a completely different way when the pressure was on? I think everybody does that. It's normal. That's why really when you are at home practicing, using mindful techniques, right? Really thinking about more than my first measure is 2, 3, 0, 2, 3, right? Oh, I can play that. 2, 3, 0, 2, 3, right? Everybody can play that can read tablature. But can you really mindfully be a part of what you're doing? 2, 3, oh, 2, 3, oh. I want to tell a story. I want to make that music. I don't want to just follow the directions. I don't want to just be told what to do. I want to make every single one of those sounds like, oh gosh, I want to be a part of whatever's going on in 17 6. It was probably about 1720 or so that this song was probably written. Um, I want to go back to 1720 and be a part of Christian Piesel sitting down at his harpsichord knocking this thing out, and I want my ukulele to be that instrument, and I really want every single one of those notes to be exactly right. And so when you are at home practicing, you're going to get that measure perfect, and by the time you have it perfect, you're going to have your fingering so set in that you can't play it any other way. I think the best phrase I ever heard, the difference between an amateur and a professional: an amateur practices until they get it right. A professional plays until they can't get it wrong. And I think the difference is practicing an hour a day versus practicing 8 hours every day, right? And so I think there's no point in becoming a professional ukulele player. Trust me on that one. But there is some point in really being mindful about every single note in a piece and really getting it solid and getting your hands where it absolutely, your hands are doing more than following the rules, and your eyeballs are saying, here's the rules, get in there, right? That's what your eyeballs are doing, but your fingers, both this hand and this hand, are making the music. And you hear it all the time. You hear it from me. I'm sort of a journeyman. I'm sort of hack it out a lot, but every now and then I'll have a student who just really just brings a piece to life, and you're like, that's how you're supposed to be playing. If you hear me on piano, I am hacking it out, right? I'm barely surviving, but what we're really working on is trying to get the music out, and that's here. It's sitting here. It's waiting for you to do it. And the difference is that you are taking the time to really love on every single note. All right, let's get into the tough uke. We're only going to play it through once or twice. I guess we'll just play it top to bottom and then go back around. Those of you working at this level, you know exactly how to do this. There's no surprises in here. You've got G chord, you got a D chord, you got back to G chord. Make sure at measure 4, you got that 2-1. Okay, if you're on low G, you're fine. But if you're on high G, this note is higher than the main melody note. So just be mindful. You don't want to play it that way. You want to play it with this, making sure that you get this note louder. Okay, and you'll do the best you can, right? It's one of the weirdnesses about high G ukulele. I love it. It drives some people nuts. Okay, the hard chord is going to be at measure 6. You've got a bar on 7, pinky on 10. That's going to be called the Mike shoe chord from now on. Okay, and then the next chord at measure 7 is also a tiny bit of a bummer. It's a 9th fret bar with the F shape in front of it. Okay, doesn't that sound cool? Doesn't that sound nice? Okay, when you start dealing with this, when you got a bar here and an F shape in front, and you're all the way down here on 9, the quality of your ukulele is going to start showing up. So if you're playing at this level and this is just brutal, like you're just getting nothing out of it, and you know you've got it fingered properly, and you're not getting something beautiful, and it might be time to start shopping, right? You are, I hope, every time you practice putting a $5 bill in the bucket, right? Because you need to own a $400. If you own a $100 ukulele, you owe it to yourself to own a $300 one. If you own a $300 ukulele, you owe it to yourself to own the $1,000 one. And if you're playing a $1,000 ukulele, you're probably fine, right? You don't really need these $3,000-$4,000 ukuleles that are going around right now. They just have a really good name on the headstock. That's all. All right. Measure 8. You got a bar chord on 2 with your pinky on 5. Okay. And I think that's it, right? Those are the only major bar chords that you're going to run into problems with on this song. Again, every one of you will come up with your own unique fingering pattern after you hit that chord. Right? And you should be mindful that may be different for you than it is for me. I'm pretty standard. I'm pretty vanilla when I'm picking out my fingering. Some of you will say, oh, I might be better off by switching a fret up high, a few frets higher on a lower string. That you experiment with that and what works. When I play this makes perfect sense for me, and I think it should, for the most part, work in your hands. Let's see. Jerry, does Bach qualify as a legend? Haha, you're on to me, Jerry. All right, here we go. From the top, I am going to play with my thumb, right? If you are at a next player level thinking, oh my gosh, I want to really be this person, okay, absolutely works like that. You should be thinking about that. on this piece, since we are heavily involved with the fourth string all the way through, I'm probably going to assign thumb, index, middle, and ring. Probably, right? And I don't often assign my ring because it's the dumbest finger on the most important string. But with this particular arrangement, it seems like it might make a little bit of sense. Tough means that it's tough to do, and you got to be tough to do it, Minette. Tough is where we combine chord and melody. In the real world, they call it chord melody, or in the really modern world, they call it finger style ukulele. And so it's those two things put together. Okay. It means it's hard. Cat. I think bottom line, yeah, it's tough to do, and if you can do it, you're tough, and tough is good. All right, let's play it from the top, nice and slow. If you're not at this level, it's perfectly fine. Come in tomorrow for my Spaghetti Monster, and all your questions will be revealed. Oh, I should also mention measure 0. Those 3 low G's on there, those are meant as count-ins. For some reason, my software was not allowing me to add in the mystery cowbell behind there, so I'm going to go back in and fix that. But my software said no more cowbell today, so I just put in 3 low G's there just to as a count-in. It's meant to help you on the MP3. Don't play those. Okay, I'm going to count in 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to play. And we're going to play all the way down to the bottom. We're going to do the repeat. We'll go back up and play it again. Okay? Very slow the first few times through. Okay? Well, very slow for me because I'm not 100% I'm going to be successful on this, and you should probably play it even slower. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Strum 3, 0, 2, 3. Strum 2, 0, 2, 2. Strum 0, 2, 3, 2. Strum 2, 4, 0. Strum 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. Strum 9, 7. Strum 0, 4. Strum 2, 2. Strum 3, 2, 3. Strum 3, 2, 3. Strum 3, 2. Strum 3, 2, 3. Oh. Strum 0, 2, 3. 0, 2. Strum 2. Oh. Strum 5, 3, 2. Strum 2, 3 to the top. Strum 3, 0, 2, 3. Strum 2, 0, 2, 2. Strum 0, 2, 3, 2. Strum 2, 4, 0. Strum 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. Strum 9, 7. Strum 0, 4. Strum 2, 2. Strum 3, 2, 3. Strum 3, 2, 3. Strum 3, 2. Strum 3, 2, 3. Oh. Strum 0, 2, 3. 0, 2. Strum 2, 0. Strum 5, 3, 2. Second ending. Strum. How about that? Okay. If you're playing along with me and you're keeping up, good for you. If you're not playing along with me or not keeping up, that just means it's time for you to go get to work on this kind of stuff. Okay. Note that the piece from yesterday, part 1 and part 2 are actually part of the same song for this piece of music. So part 1 and part 2 go together. When we're done with all 4 parts of the song, then I will toss out a combined version of all of these together. But in the meantime, hopefully work on part 1, then work on part 2, and then we'll eventually be combining them into one gigantic designer piece meant to make you sound super legit on ukulele. Okay, lots of all right. So let me run through the administrative stuff. If you have any last comments, they're over here in the chat box. Please say hi, or it's pretty fine if you just don't ever say anything. I don't. It's always weird when you're online for the first few times. You're like, I don't know. Under here is a subscribe box. If going to Jolly Roger Ukulele, sometimes that site gets clogged up right before a lesson. You subscribe to me, and then you just come here to YouTube and hit refresh until we go live. Okay, and then it'll magically show up. Under here, thumbs up or thumbs down, whichever you think. Okay, thumbs down for my face, thumbs up hopefully for my arrangement, and then all of our materials are on jollyrogerukulele.com. Please go over there and steal all that stuff. It's meant for you. It's meant for you to go out and get a handle on it and then sell it. Not sell it. Don't sell it. It's free. Don't take my name off of it. Just leave my websites and stuff on there, and then you put your own cover sheet on and say that you are approved by me. But jollyrogerukulele.com. That's where I'll post all of the stuff. If you are not getting emails from me, put your email address onto the widget, and then when you're sick of getting emails from me, you can always unsubscribe. But that's the fastest and easiest way I know for you to get involved in this program. What I do know is this program works. The people on this list that I know are tremendous players because of this system. And this tough system really does make you a good player and takes you to a new level that I think is worth playing. And I'm about to go do a guitar lesson at denverguitarorchestra.com. So if you want to go get the great big ukulele and learn how to talk but not listen, that's what we do on guitar. So please feel free to join me over there. Thank you all for being here. I hope you had a wonderful day. Thank you for all of the kind words. I've been getting lots of emails from you guys, and I really do appreciate it. You're very kind, and it's really going to be exciting for you to go back into your community when they unlock the door finally and be able to share some of this with other people. So I will see all of you tomorrow. We're going to do part 3 of that, and we're going to do the greatest day in ukulele. It's Spaghetti Monster Day, and you're absolutely going to change. I'm going to change your world with really learning how to play tough uke. Please tell your friends about this, that we're doing this every day. They're sitting at home. I don't know what they're doing. Trying not to, and so that's a stabbing motion with, against my niece or whatever. I don't know. I wouldn't kill her. I'd just knock her out. Kat, have a wonderful day. Thanks, Linda. Jackie, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Fran, Kari, I love it that you keep showing up. Chris, is wonderful to see you. Melody, so exciting you're joining us. Leslie, I'm challenged. This is challenging. Minette, come tomorrow. I promise. Spaghetti Monster solves every problem. Kathy, love it. Yeah, Bach's okay. He's okay. Part 3 tomorrow. I'll try to get it posted tonight if I can, but probably not till tomorrow. Lynn, good to see you. Jerry, thanks for being here. Bruce, keep at it, man. You're awesome. I will see. I'm going to end the stream here, and you guys have a wonderful day. Red, be good. Be good, Red. All right. Have a wonderful day, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.